Have you ever wondered like what art might look like if it could like change based on what you do with it?
Hmm, I like that.
That's what we're diving into today. This whole world of Zero XG.
Yeah.
They're like this crypto artist who's using blockchain tech in these ways that kind of blur the lines between art, tech, and I think even philosophy.
Definitely.
You sent over some really fascinating stuff on Zero XG project descriptions, their bio, and I have to admit I'm already pretty intrigued.
Well, get ready to go even deeper.
Mm.
Zero XG is more than just an artist, you know. They're really pushing the boundaries here of what we can even do with blockchain.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking art that actually interacts with you, changes over time even. Sometimes it even disappears.
Okay, so it's not just like owning a digital image then.
No, not at all.
It's got to be something more, right?
Way more.
This is where I start to feel like I need like a roadmap or something.
And a good roadmap for Zero XG's work,
Hmm.
it really starts with smart contracts.
Okay.
Zero XG embeds these smart contracts directly into their art to create like rules and interactions.
So instead of just a static piece, it's almost like the art itself has a life of its own.
Exactly.
Huh.
Let's look at Unseen, for example. You got a series of photographs, but the actual artwork, it's hidden.
Hmm.
And it only reveals itself when the owner is offline.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Powerful commentary, I think, on our always connected culture. Wouldn't you say?
It really is. It's like the art rewards you for like disconnecting, for experiencing it on its own terms.
There you go.
So it's not just about what you own, but how you interact with it that matters.
You got it. And Zero XG takes us even further, like with projects like Paradigm Shift.
Mm.
Ownership of the artwork actually resets annually.
Wow.
Every year, collectors have just 24 hours to like bring it back to life. Otherwise, they risk losing it.
Talk about high stakes. That completely changes the idea of owning art, especially in the digital world where anything can be copied so easily.
Right. And that challenge to traditional notions of value, it's a recurring theme with Zero XG.
Thinking about the digital world, a lot of people might be wondering, how is this different from just a regular NFT?
That's where things get really interesting. Zero XG isn't afraid to get into the weeds, the technology itself. They even created their own NFT standard, ERC 7160,
Wow.
specifically to allow for multi-layered metadata within their art.
Okay, so break that down for me. What does that even mean for someone who might be new to all of this?
Okay, so imagine a digital artwork. It's got hidden layers, alternate versions, maybe even the ability to evolve over time. That's what ERC 7160 unlocks. It's like giving artists like a brand new set of tools to create truly dynamic and interactive art experiences.
Wow, so it's not just the concept of the art that's like evolving, but the actual technology behind it too.
Right.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite example of how Zero XG uses this like multi-layered approach?
One that comes to mind is Unlike.
Okay.
It really flips the script on how we think about value.
Okay, I'm sensing a theme here with Zero XG and like subverting expectations.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
So unlike this project, Zero XG actually encourages collectors to burn or destroy editions of the artwork.
Really?
Yeah. And the last person holding an unburned edition becomes the sole owner of the final 1-1.
That's wild.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of wanting your art to go viral.
Right.
Instead of more being better, it's about scarcity and maybe even a bit of sacrifice.
Precisely. It makes you question what's more valuable. Owning a piece of something that everyone has, or like possessing the last remaining fragment of a digital artifact.
Yeah, it's almost like a performance where the act of collecting itself like becomes part of the art.
Exactly. And Zero XG doesn't just play with our perception of value, they also challenge our assumptions about what it means to like participate in the art world. Take Fearless, for instance. To even mint this piece, you initially needed a balance of 300 ETH.
Whoa, that's a serious barrier to entry. It sounds like something only the most dedicated and wealthiest collectors could even attempt.
But there's a twist. Zero XG ultimately gave the entire collection away for free.
Really?
Yeah, it was never about the money for them, it was a statement.
So in a way, Fearless wasn't about the financial risk, but about challenging the status quo. Maybe even poking fun at the exclusivity often associated with the art market.
It's a brilliant example of how Zero XG uses their platform to spark conversations and make us really question our assumptions. And they don't shy away from pushing the boundaries between the physical and digital realms either.
Oh, right. I remember reading about a project where they combined physical prints with redeemable NFTs Actus Essendi, I think it was called.
Yes.
Eh.
Each piece featured a physical print signed by 0xg,
Mm-hmm.
and collectors could then use that signature to unlock a transformation in the NFT version of the artwork,
Whoa, wow.
blurring the line between the tangible and intangible.
So it's not just about digital or physical, but this fascinating interplay between the two. It seems like 0xg is constantly finding ways to push the boundaries of what art can be.
Absolutely, and they even explore the boundaries of what art should be. Their Project N is a great example. It's a soul-bound token, meaning it's permanently linked to its owner and can't be transferred or sold,
Okay.
and it's stripped of any visuals or financial incentives.
That's fascinating. It almost sounds like anti-art in a way.
Right.
What's the point of an NFT if it has no visual element and you can't even sell it?
That's precisely the question 0xg wants you to ask. It challenges our preconceived notions of what art should be and what purpose it serves. It makes you consider the value of art beyond its monetary worth or even its aesthetic qualities.
It's almost like 0xg is saying, what if the real value of art is the experience itself, the concept it embodies, the conversation it starts? It's like they're saying, let's just strip away all the traditional markers of value and see what's left. It's a bold move, and I gotta admit, it's making me rethink my whole definition of art.
And that's what's so exciting about 0xg's work, right? It pushes us out of our comfort zones
Yeah.
and forces us to reconsider what we thought we knew. Like, they even challenged the very structure of NFTs themselves with projects like Perpetual.
Oh, right, Perpetual. I remember reading about that. That has something to do with how, like, editions work.
Exactly. With Perpetual, 0xg sets a fixed supply for like current and future editions, all up front.
Okay.
New editions can only be acquired by burning an existing one.
Wow.
So it creates this constantly evolving ecosystem where scarcity is like built into the system itself.
So it's like a limited edition that's always in flux, with older versions becoming rarer and, I guess, potentially more sought after as new editions are released.
Yeah. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The artwork itself can evolve too.
What?
Collectors can unlock a token that changes the visuals of their NFT. They can even burn it to acquire a new piece from like a later edition.
It's like the art world equivalent of software updates, constantly iterating and adapting over time. It really makes you wonder what happens to the original artwork in a system like this.
That's such a good question, and it speaks to the heart of what 0xg is exploring. They even introduced this concept called locked metadata with Perpetual. So the original metadata of the NFT stays fixed.
Okay.
But 0xg can release updates that collectors can choose to implement or not.
So it's like owning a vintage car. You can keep it in pristine original condition, or you can modify it with all the modern upgrades.
Exactly. It gives so much agency to both the artist and the collector. It acknowledges that art can be both a fixed point in time and an ongoing conversation.
And speaking of conversations, 0xg has this other project, Owned, which plays with the idea of ownership in a really thought-provoking way.
Owned, yeah. A series of 3 NFTs. They've got the same visual but different names. These names reflect their ownership status, and the catch is you can lend out your owned NFT, but doing so means you're giving up control, and that could potentially impact how much people think it's worth.
It's such a brilliant commentary on the complexities of ownership in the digital age. Even when we think we own something, how much control do we really have? And in a world where digital art can just be endlessly copied, what does it even mean to own it?
Exactly. You see, 0xg's work isn't just visually compelling. It grapples with these really fundamental questions we have about art and value and ownership in the digital age.
It's been really incredible exploring 0xg's work with you today, but before we wrap up, I have to ask, for someone who might be new to all of this, what's the one key takeaway? Why should they care about 0xg?
That's a great question. For me, 0xg represents a huge paradigm shift in how we even think about art and how it interacts with technology. They're not just creating digital art, they're building experiences. They're questioning the norms. They're pushing the boundaries of what we even thought was possible.
It's almost like they're writing the rule book as they go along.
Yeah.
And they're inviting us all to be a part of this experiment.
Exactly. Whether you're an artist, a collector, a tech enthusiast, or just someone who appreciates art, that makes you think 0xg's work has something for you. They make us rethink our relationship with technology, challenge our assumptions about value, and ultimately expand our definition of art itself.
It's been a mind-bending deep dive into this world of 0xg. And honestly, I think their work is going to stay with me for a long time. If their art is a reflection of where things are headed, the future is going to be a pretty wild ride.
I couldn't agree more.
For all of you listeners out there, as you encounter new art and new technologies, remember to ask questions, challenge those assumptions, And never stop exploring. Who knows? You might just discover the next Zero XG.